where the West begins in Fort Worth, Texas, to around the globe. You are listening to Talk of the Night. And now, your host, Paranormal Phil. Thank you and good evening, good morning, wherever you may be, around the world, around the globe, or even in your own backyard. I am Paranormal Phil. I am live streaming on YouTube starting this week and every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So join me here every Saturday night. Now, I don't have a plan for next Saturday, but I was having freezing problems last week when I did a live stream on Facebook Live. So I tested it tonight just to make sure everything worked fine. So I don't see any chance of it freezing, but if it does, let me know in the chat. And I got the chat open. And hello, Alex, in the chat. I'm going to give it a moment to let people come in before I get into tonight's topic. But also, give me a 5x5 if you can hear me and everything like that. Make sure you can hear me okay. All right, good. So I'm going to give it a minute here before I get into everything because I got a lot of stuff. Now, there is no links in the description right now, but I will post those links in the description as soon as the video is done. So keep an eye out for those. All the links for what I'm talking about tonight will be in the link in the description down below. So let's get into... Go back to OBS and click on this, and let me bring my camera down so you can see my screen as far as the topics tonight. So let me bring this down. Alright, and let me bring this over because I hate it being on that side of the screen. I'm trying to hit it the right spot is difficult. So what we're going to be talking about tonight is Stonehenge, and I'll be talking about the mysteries of Stonehenge, what they might have been used for, why they're there, how they were built, stuff like that. Now, nobody really knows exactly why they were built, but there is different theories on why they were built. So actually, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I share this real quick. Make sure people know that I am live. Because I don't want people not knowing I'm not here. There it is. Of course, you can't see this screen, but you're seeing the screen that I am sharing right now. Okay, so I wanted to share that. All right, so let's get into the topic and everything like that. All right, so I got everything figured out. Now, of course, I'm doing everything myself, so I don't have a producer or somebody to manage everything, so I'm doing all this myself. And it's been a process learning with OBS. Like I said, last week I had freezing. If it freezes up, let me know. There is a chat. I will be checking that often. Not too often, but I will be checking it. So let's talk about this first story. And again, the links will be in the description after the live stream. So you can check out the stories and the videos when you get a chance. So this is from the London Toolkit, I guess to give people different ideas of attractions there in London and England and everything like that. So, what do we know about Stonehenge? Well, nearly every year, respected archaeologists will put towards papers suggesting dates needed to be adjusted or our assumptions about Stonehenge changed. Just a few, let me make sure you can see this. This is a frame here. Alright, so a few books on Stonehenge in the gift shop, and even fundamental dates will differ marked from one book to another. Of course, like I said, there are so many theories out there. There's the alien theory, there's the glacier theory that brought the rocks there, there's theories of magic from Merlin and King Arthur. There's so many different theories, but let's look at this here. The archaeologist viewpoint, and there's like 3 different viewpoints. The archaeologist viewpoint is based on observation, digs in and around Stonehenge, carbon dating, and conclusions at other Neolithic sites all around the British Isles. Now, Stonehenge is not the only area there that has a circle stone area. I can't think of the other one, but there are a couple. So, and even with that carbon dating, it seems to change every once in a while too. Possibly every year. Oops, I opened the wrong thing. Don't want that. There's the astrologer viewpoint. Stems from the fact that nearly all the stones at Stonehenge are precisely cited and correlated to significant events on the planet orbit, like solstice, which that is true. They somehow line up with the summer and spring equinox, or summer and winter solstice. I mean, I don't know why I said equinox. Summer and winter solstice. The stones line up where it's actually lined to a certain point where you can see the sun through the stones at a certain time during the summer solstice and winter solstice. A suggestion that Stonehenge is perhaps a place where ancient astronomers took place, perhaps part driven by the need to predict agricultural seasons. And of course, there's also the ancient alien theory, which is plausible. I mean, there are many people that don't believe in extraterrestrial life, but how can anybody not think that with that big of a universe that there isn't some other intelligent life out there? Again, let me know what you think in the comments, but let's get into the New Age viewpoint. And that is a loose term we have to use to summarize a spiritual input, such as the Druids, pagans, stuff like that, that were around that time, maybe a little after. Now, there are going to be videos and sites that dispute that, but again, nobody really knows. Religion, for what of a better term, in Neolithic times, and similarities to put pagan religions nowadays. Similarities to pagan religions nowadays. The concept of Mother Earth Father of the Sun overlap to some extent with the astronomer's viewpoint. The concurrent of energy and the sitting of Stonehenge at the intersection of many ley lines also follow a back to nature theme. Today, the Druids' religion uses Stonehenge as a key religious monument, if I can talk, though Druidism itself isn't around at the time of the Neolithics. Now, like I said, Druids is more fairly new compared to paganism. So I got a lot to cover, Alex. I got a lot, and sometimes I get talking a little too fast. But like I said, if the stream freezes at any time, just let me know, and I will fix that. Alright, so the mysteries of building Stonehenge, and again, you can read this for yourself. Like I said, I will have all the links as soon as this video is over in the description down below. So the first stone, the blue stone from Preseli Hills. The first stone, the blue stone, weighing about 4 tons each. Imagine somebody being able to move a stone that large. And no wonder so many people wonder how those stones got moved, let alone stacked on top of each other. Now, there is theories that it's was carved that way. The stones were there already. I've heard that theory. I don't think the stones were there, but just to stack those on top of other stones. And they were using primitive tools at the time, antler knives to cut and dig. But they could have had some makeshift rope and used other things. Now, of course, Stonehenge wasn't always stone. There was actually wood pillars, or so they say, before the stones were put into place. So I tend to believe that it was kind of a religious site in a way. But to move all those, and I'm not going to get into it because I don't have it loaded up, but if you think about moving stones, if you've ever heard of Leedskalnin, Coral Castle, he was known to move, or he was said to have moved big metallithical stones, and he was the only one to do it. So people wonder, how was he able to do it? But we'll save that for another show, talking about Coral Castle and Ed Leedskalnin. So, but the thinking that a lot of these were brought there from nearly 200 miles away. Imagine somehow transporting a 4-ton stone, each stone weighing 4 tons from 200 miles away. Imagine the undertaking that must have took to actually bring those stones that far away. Now, there is much archaeology debate surrounding the theories of how the stones got from Wells to Salisbury's Plain, because they were, I guess, not native to that area. Wells, yes, but Salisbury Plain, no. So that's why a lot of people think that ancient aliens had a hand in the stone building, especially with the alignment with the summer and winter solstice. Also, the alignment with other sites such as the pyramids of Giza, the Bermuda Triangle, and a few others that I can't think of off of the top of my head. So, I mean, to get that knowledge, to line them up with just if it was just the summer and winter solstice, that took a lot of planning to say, okay, and they only have one day a year for each solstice to figure out, okay, this is where this stone goes, this is where this stone goes, so everything lines up. Now, yes, it could have took many, many, many years to do, which I believe I've seen one estimate of 800 years or over 1,000 years to construct this thing. No problem, Alex. So the theories on how those stones got there, it varies. Now, a popular theory with some academic is that these stones were quarried from the spot in Wells and then transported largely by water. But to have a 4-ton... I mean, modern ships nowadays could carry something that weighed 4 tons. I mean, a lot of ships carry a lot more than 4 tons, those cargo ships. But in that period of time before BC, like 2000 BC, they didn't have the modern stuff that we have. And to try and transport a 4-ton stone over water, imagine the size of a boat or a raft that would have had to have been constructed, and how they got those on those boats or rafts, how they got them across to there, and how they got them off of those ships and transported them to Salisbury Plain. Again, there's a lot of theories out there, and nobody really knows. Now, of course, we're going to get into the thing. I don't have an image, but if you can see this image here. Let me see if you can see that. Okay. Alright, so if you look here at the top of the stone, you see like a little bump there. And I'm going to get into a video that talks about this. That some believe it was like a Lego building blocks, if you will. That they stacked it on top of each other in the right spot. I mean, it was designed that way to fit on the thing. So, I mean, again, there's that theory, but again, how do they get those stones on top of these big 4-ton bluestones? Now, however, nobody has even today successfully reenacted this feat with the technologies available at the time. I mean, look at the stuff that we have: helicopters that can lift heavy stuff, big machinery that can move heavy and lift heavy stuff, cranes. Even with the modern technology that we have, nobody has been able to recreate that. Now, that's what this story says, but I believe Ed Leedskalnin at Cora Castle might have found the way to do so. Now, I've seen things where they've pivoted on a kind of a seesaw thing, where they put a block here, push it down, then put another block here, until it finally raises up to an upright position. But nobody has been able to prove that with such large stones. Yes, they've used large stones, and I've seen it happen where they've actually done that on a seesaw basis, put one thing here, then another thing here, until it got to the point where it was straight up. But to use these 4-ton okay, I always mess up this word. Let's see. So I see it. Where is that word? Neolithic. That's what I always want to say it with the M for some reason. Neolithic stones, blue stones that weigh 4 tons. And I'm talking about these big stones weighing 4 tons. How they got them to do that, we might never know. But again, I believe with a lot of things there is alien technology that was used or insight. But again, you can call me a tinfoil hat wearing full, but I believe there is that possibility. But again, nobody really knows how these stones got there. Now, the big ones, the Sarson Stones, actually, which I believe is the blue stones, I think of the top cap, but the big ones, the Sarson Stones, the larger stones, the Sarson Stones came from only 20 miles away, which is more accessible for rolling on logs and stuff like that, or being pulled by a team of oxes. But again, no modern machinery, and before the wheel, this would have been a huge undertaking. So there was no wheel there, so I mean, the only way to roll it would be on logs where it's, say you got 4 logs and you roll it, and as soon as it's past this last log, somebody takes that log, puts it in the front, and does it over time. And that would be a tedious job in itself just to do that. A huge undertaking. Now, the Sarson Stones would have been roughly cut where they were found and then dragged on top of tree trunks, like I was saying, working as rollers to Stonehenge. It has been estimated that as many as 1,000 people would have been needed to manpower to haul these gigantic stones, and perhaps taken 10 years to complete. Now, imagine the back-breaking work that it would have took to move all those stones as they described. Welcome back, Alex. Again, like I said, I'll check chat every once in a while. I can't check it too often because I want to keep on the stories here. But and of course, I've seen topics where they mentioned it wasn't just one group of people, rather it was many different groups, like the pagans, maybe it was the Egyptians, maybe it was Neanderthals, just to give you an example, like not one type of person. And that's quite possible that it took so long to construct this thing. Like I said, 800 to over 1,000 years. I mean, that would take a lot of manpower, movement, but also knowledge. But again, nobody knows that if it took 800 or 1,000 years, or maybe even like a weekend, if the aliens used their technology to do it. Nobody really knows that on how long it would have actually taken. I'm going to get some water here. Now, elite group of knowledge, due to the complexity of organizing such a mammoth task, it seems likely that an elite group of people possessed and passed on specialist building knowledge like a guild today, organizing and engineering within local and more distant communities. Leaders over many generations have been able to inspire the masses into the concept and belief that drove them to attempt such a monument. That's where I'm getting into the point where, like I said, it was many different groups. And of course, you'll hear me reading part of it and give you a synopsis, because even when I get into playing the videos, I have to stop it every once in a while, so I hope you all understand, because I don't want to get a copyright strike. I have to make it fair use. Now, Stonehenge itself is put together like woodwork, joints and sockets. Like I said, ancient Legos, basically. Lego building blocks have been carved into the stone, so each stone fits into each other precisely. Now, how did they get the knowledge to get that precision cut into the stone? We're talking about people that were without the will, without modern technology, even the dark age technology of our medieval times when they had catapults and stuff like that. They didn't have that technology. So how were they able to precisely cut the stones to where they fit together in slots, or like I mentioned right here, like this little bump on the top, how these stones actually fit into that groove? Again, there are many theories out there, but I can only theorize what I know or what I think I might know. Now, I would love to actually visit that site itself, and one of these days I will get a chance to visit Stonehenge. Just because I got ancestry over in England and Ireland and Scotland. So, I would love to visit that site, because not only, like I mentioned, it's not only got that connection with aligning with the summer and winter solstice, but it's also been said that it's a burial site. a healing energy sector, and I got flying around here bugging me. Let's see. I mean, there are so many things, and we're going to get into that. Now, of course, it would have took an army of people to move such stones. Without metal, it would have been very labor intensive to shape these vast stones using stone on stone. I mean, imagine stone and bone been used to carve out stone just to get that precision. Again, no modern technology, no rulers, no like, okay, this is how far. Well, they could probably use like a tree trunk or something like that. Okay, this tree trunk is this long. That's it. Where we need right there. We need to cut it and then put it on the other side and make sure that it's dead center. I mean, that is possible, but to get that precision every single time on every stone, and imagine if you messed up, that you would have to go get another 4-ton stone or one of those other bigger stones. I mean, imagine the undertaking. Now, of course, how did they get those stones up there? Erecting one of these stones would have been problematic without modern aids, which I read earlier, that even with our modern technology, we have not been able to duplicate this same. And I want to check something here. Okay, I want to make sure my stream is healthy. We would not been able to duplicate that same feat. Now, like I said, ditches would have had to be dug, and like I mentioned about the sea salt effect. Basically, when you lifted it up, put a block under here, before that stone came down on this side, there had to be a hole there, so, or on one side, so when it gets high enough, it's able to, well, let's see, this is a hole right here, this is a stone on a teeter, eventually going back and forth, it would fall into that ditch and be able to stand up. I mean, it is quite possible. It can be done, but to be done with such big stones as 4-ton stones, imagine the time, the energy that it would have took to do such. The uprights we see at Stonehenge have about a third of the length concealed below ground. So, I mean, they are below ground, but, I mean, that leads credence to the whole rocking it back and forth until it's in a ditch. But it could also, I'm not dismantling the theory of ancient aliens, because maybe the people did dig the holes and the spacecraft were able to lift up the stones and place them directly in those holes. Again, I'm not saying that's what happened, but there are so many theories out there on this. Now, let's see, where was I? The most common theory is that the large earthen ramps would have been erected and the stone toppled over the top into their proper holes and somehow pulled vertical, perhaps with primitive A-frames and leverage. Now, imagine dragging, let alone dragging a 4-ton stone over 200 miles. But to lug it up a ramp just to go over the edge and into a ditch. Imagine the size of the ramp needed. And of course, they didn't have the modern technology. Even Stone Age, not Stone Age, but Middle Ages, medieval times, I don't think even they, with their technology, I mean, look at the Egyptians with them having possibly a ramp used to take those stones up to the top. Imagine the length on the ramp that would have needed to be carried up to the top of the pyramid, let alone taking a 4-ton stone high enough up a ramp to where it fell down straight and was buried, what was it, about a third of their length concealed below ground. Like I said, imagine the size of the ramp. And there is no, I have never seen any suggestion that says that there was a ramp used to do such a thing. All right, now, so let's get into what was it used for. Some of the theories, again, a sacred burial site. Many people believe that, and there have been bones found there, so yes, it could have been a burial site. There's also mounds there that were constructed with wooden pillars. And I think I got that video punched up for a little bit later in the show. But that is covered up with dirt and everything like that. And in these mounds were found bodies or skeletons of these people that died. So, like I said, Stonehenge was reportedly used with wooden, like, tree trunks in a circle. And that became the stones that you now see today. A site for celestial or astronomical alignments. Again, yes, it does line up with the summer and winter solstice. So, both of those, it could have been used for both of those. And third, a place for healing. Again, I don't know about that, but I've heard some people saying there's some like healing energy there. So, especially if it's aligned with other monuments, wonders of the world around the world, like I said, the pyramids of Giza, the Nazca lines in Peru, Bermuda Triangle, a few other sites. So it possibly could have an energy that is there. And of course, I'm not going to get into all this because I don't want to get into this, do this whole story, but you can read about the burials at Stonehenge, the astronomical alignments, healing pilgrimage at Stonehenge, and all that. Again, the link will be in the description down below after the video. I haven't been able to find a way to post all the information beforehand. I guess I'll work on that before next week. So let's get into 5 strange theories on Stonehenge. And this comes from Live Science. And this will give you an idea of some of the different theories that are out there. And some of this might be repeated from that first link that I shared. So it says, thousands of years ago, an ancient civilization raised a circle, a huge, roughly rectangular stones, filled is in what is now called Wiltshire, England. Now, Stonehenge would come to be called, has been a mystery ever since. Now, here's what they say it began being built. And again, like I said, I've heard the carbon dating change over the years. Building began on the site around 3100 BC and continued in phase up until about 1600 BC. So that is about 1500 years. Again, like I said, some say 800, some say about 1200. This one's saying about 1500 years. Imagine the knowledge that was passed down. If, let's say that man had the capability to find a way to move these stones and put them in an upright position. Imagine the knowledge that was passed down 1500 years to allow these to be put in place. And if my video for any time freezes, let me know. Again, I'll check, because it seems like during my live stream, like 2 minutes in and then 18 minutes in, I had a warning about the resolution, and I just got another warning about the resolution on the stream health. So it says the current resolution is 960 by 540, which is not optimal, but I lowered it to help with the uploading of the video, so I didn't have that freezing problem. Let me check Facebook here real quick before I get more into the story. But again, like I said, I want to make sure that not missing any people that think I'm on Facebook, waiting for me on Facebook. Nope. Okay, so like I said, if the stream freezes for any reason, let me know in the comments. Oh, wait, did I close it? Sorry, I closed it. My bad. But again, like 1500 years, imagine the knowledge that was passed down, if that is the case, that many people, many different sects of life, different, like the Druids, the pagans, the Egyptians, whatever, just to kind of give you an example, how that knowledge was passed down to build these things. Now, the people who constructed the site left no written records and few clues as to why they bothered to schlep the stones to this spot. Again, no written history on why. So that's why many people think that there might be an ancient alien theory to this. Now, while theories of Stonehenge have persisted since the Middle Ages, with 12th century myths circulating about wizard Merlin constructing the site, which I'm going to get into that video, because I do have that video pulled up where they believe Merlin was part of helping construct the site. More recently, of course, UFO believers have spun theories about ancient aliens and spacecraft landing pads. Now, I haven't seen anything on it lately, but there are the just want to make sure my stream health is still good. There is the thought that, or I haven't seen lately any, how you put it, crop circles being laid out. I wonder if they're not around anymore. I mean, or maybe we just don't hear too much about crop circles anymore with everything going on in 2020. But to those that don't believe that there is an ancient alien theory on this, I mean, that's on you. I mean, you're welcome to believe whatever you want. And of course, let me know what you think in the comments down below, how these sites got built. Now, wild theories, let's see, that's where I was. But Stonehenge has inspired a fair number of scientifically reasonable theories as well. Here are the 5 major ones, and not necessarily mutually exclusive reasons Stonehenge might exist. Again, this is without the alien theories or the Merlin theory. A place for burial. Like I said, there have been burial ground skeletons found on the site of and around the site of Stonehenge. So yes, it could have been a burial ground at one time for the pagans and other people. Who knows? Now, not just any people, but for the elite. A cemetery for the elite. The top brass of people in that time period. Okay, I'm just checking something. Okay. So, I mean, there is that possibility. Bone fragments were first exhumed from Stonehenge site more than a century ago, but archaeologists at the time thought that the remains were unimportant and reburied them, which, I mean, is the right thing to do. I mean, how would you like it if somebody came and dug up your grave? Now, British researchers have re-exhumed more than 50,000 cremated bone fragments from where they were discarded, representing 63 separate individuals from Stonehenge. Their analysis, presented on BBC 4 documentary on March 10th, reveals that people buried at the site were men and women in equal proportions, with some children as well. Like I said, the elite of families back then were buried there. Again, this is just theory. We don't know this for exact science. Now, the burials occurred in about 3000 BC, which is when the first stones were reportedly laid. So, I mean, could they have been buried there and the thing was used as or built as a monument to the people buried there? Quite possible. Now, according to this is about 3,000 years, 3,000 BC. This is according to researcher Mike Parker Peterson of the University College of London Institute of Archaeology. And the very first stones were brought from wells at the time to mark the graves, almost like a headstone today in a cemetery. Let's see, the archaeologist found a mace head and a bowl possibly used to burn incense. Sorry, getting notifications while I'm trying to do my live stream, and my computer is going crazy with that. Suggesting people buried at the graves must have been religious or political elite, according to the Guardian newspaper. There's a link there. Now, a place for healing. Again, I don't know all much about the healing factor of Stonehenge. Maybe if I'll ever get there to visit, I will actually get a chance to see if that is actually the truth. But let's see what it says. Another theory suggests that Stone Age people saw Stonehenge as a place with healing properties. In 2008, archaeologists Gregory Wainwright and Timothy Darville reported that a large number of skeletons recovered from around Stonehenge showed signs of illness or injury. Now, if there was injury, illness, I mean, yes, they might believe that it had healing properties, but if they had signs of injury or illness, I mean, would you think that they would be cured if it was a place for healing? Again, it might have some properties. Give you an example. The Tegatron in California for Giant Rock. That, or however you pronounce the name of that building. But anyways, people believe that there is healing properties in that, and that's one spot that is kind of in alignment with Stonehenge, with the Nazca lines, with the Giza pyramids, with the Bermuda Triangle. I mean, they all follow ley lines. Now, the archaeologists also reported discovering fragments of the Stonehenge bluestones, the first stone erected at the site, and that had even been chipped away by ancient people, perhaps to use as talismans for protective or healing purposes. Now, if they believed it was a healing site, it possibly could have been the stones themselves. But again, there is no sure answer to explain that. The soundscapes, another theory, or perhaps Stonehenge's circular construction was to to mimic a sound illusion. I think I've seen videos. I don't have anything pulled up on it, but I think I've seen videos where the stones give off a vibration that's unique to that. So there is that possibility as well. And I'm not going to get into the rest of these too much because I want to play those videos and I don't want to be too long doing this live stream. Celestial observation, again, with these alignment with the summer and winter solstice. Again, I mean, it definitely has properties to be used for a celestial thing for observatory, because I mean, even the people back then would have had to have knowledge of the stars. And yes, people have used the stars to look up at the sky and be able to kind of navigate like the seas, like the people of the 1400s and stuff like that, be able to navigate the sea by using the stars to find their way. I mean, but to have knowledge of alignments with other sites such as the Giza pyramids. I mean, imagine being able to align with those pyramids on different sides of the world, like one side here, one side here. You're not going to be able to see that over the horizon like that. So how did they know that they had it lined up perfectly? Again, there is the bringing up the possibility of ancient aliens given, maybe not helping build the pyramids or the Stonehenge itself, but probably to help with the alignment of these stones and the knowledge of the stars. Again, a theory that I'm just tossing out there. Maybe that's the case, maybe not. Alright, so let's look at a team building exercise. Yeah, now if it was built by by men those times, definitely it would take a team building exercise to do. It would took a lot of people's knowledge, a lot of people's time, labor, just to build such a site as it is. But then again, that's the 5 theories on about Stonehenge, or 5 of the theories on Stonehenge. Now, there's a lot more than 5 theories on Stonehenge, but that's just 5 of them. Now, again, when I play these videos, and give me a 5x5, I'm going to play a segment here real quick. Give me a 5x5.
At Stonehenge, it's always been about the sun. For more than 4,000 years, the monument has stood like...
I want to make sure that you can hear it before I play the whole thing. Good? Alright. So, I forgot there's a delay, but if you can hear that, let me know in the chat, so that way I can adjust the sound. And I'm going to grab a drink of water while we get this delay here. Yeah, there's like a 20-second delay. So, okay, so you can hear it. Okay. So this one is studying the mysteries of Stonehenge. This is from CBS Sunday Morning. Of course, I'm going to have to stop every once in a while in this video to where I can use it as fair use, because if I play it the whole way through, and I probably won't play the whole video, but of course all the links will be in the description down below. But I want to give you, I had to stop so I can use it for fair use.
At Stonehenge, it's always been about the sun. For more than 4,000 years, the monument has stood like a giant sundial, marking the longest day of the year and the shortest, taking aim at the sun like a giant stone gun sight.
And like I said, I've seen the theory that it's been used as a sundial. But again, as you heard, aligned with like the sun for the summer and winter solstice.
Yet Stonehenge is also about mystery. The big stone circle is only the most obvious part of the site. Lesser monuments, some much older and most of them buried under the soil now, stretch for miles across the landscape.
Matter of fact, I'm going to bring this up to full screen, and there's one of the mounds that I was talking about. Let me bring it to full screen.
Certainly an increase in the amount of effort people are willing to put into constructing monuments.
And they're being looked at in a way that's never been possible before.
Yeah, see, with all this technology to look, it's ground penetrating radar that they're using here with like this machine. It's not a lawnmower, but they are looking underground because this mound here could have actually been a burial site.
Using high-definition ground-penetrating radar and other magnetic and resistance-sensitive survey equipment in what's being called the Hidden Landscapes Project.
Now, let's see. Actually, I want to see something. I'll get back to full screen here in a moment. This was done in January of 2015 when this video was produced. So imagine that project is over with. Maybe it still continues to this day.
A documentary team from the Smithsonian Channel has been following the archaeologists around. And using computer-generated imagery, it's been digitally reconstructing some of the monuments.
And notice, these look like wood pillars. Now, a lot of this is probably buried underground, or what's left of the pillars is still underground.
Instead of long since
believed to be used in the original Stonehenge was wood pillars such as tree trunks.
Appeared, like this burial chamber. Built of wooden posts with timbered walls and covered with earth, it predates Stonehenge by centuries and
like I said, that's what I was talking about earlier with this mound that was, posts were put in the ground and people were buried while in there while it was covered over with dirt. So I don't know how they got like some kind of roof to keep the burial site things from collapsing in, or maybe it just filled in and all those wood pillars are still there. They're just underground. And of course, with like earthworms and stuff like that and other bugs, to use wood pillars, those beams would rot if, unless they had some special way to treat it, but if they found a way to put a roof on that somehow, and they covered it with earth and everything like that, over time, I'm sure that those stones would have been rotted out and everything would have collapsed. Could it still have happened? Yes. But let's continue with the video.
would have held the remains of around 50 bodies. Henry Chapman, an archaeologist from the University of Birmingham, England, says the project has produced more data than they know what to do with.
It's a sort
of course, there's a lot of theories, but definitely the data used in these sites to figure out what's underground, to get dating on these and everything like that. I mean, it's still a mystery. even with the modern technology.
Sweet shot problem that when you're presented with loads of more information, you kind of think, oh, right, so I want some more now.
It's the Moorish problem.
Yeah, it's the Moorish problem, yeah.
And the new data has helped answer some old questions, like whether the giant stone circle, now somewhat gap-toothed, was ever complete.
Yeah, some people said that it was never completed. Some said that it was a complete circle. But again, I'll let you guys decide. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Was it completed? What do you think it was completed? Do you think it was a full circle? Everything like that.
The digital probing and some dry patches that emerged during a recent...
Now, I'm going to pause it right here because notice these little humps in the top of the stone. Right there and right there. Again, that, or even better yet, this one right here, as acting as like a giant Lego block. Ancient Legos. But to fit into a certain groove, like you got this knot and it fits right in that groove to where it fits perfectly. Imagine the precision that it took to not only carve out these little mound tops on top of the stone, but for the stone laying on top, cutting in that little hole just to where that knob fits perfectly into the stone. Like I said, imagine the precision.
Drought seemed to show that Stonehenge was once, in fact, a full circle.
And again, it quite could have been possible that it was a full circle. I don't think we'll ever really know unless we find a way to get a time machine and go back in time and see for ourselves.
And we got a series of parch marks which showed us the positions of some stones which we'd never seen before.
Yeah, like see the dry, dead area of grass where no grass grows. I mean, that's what they believed, that the stones were actually placed right there and they're no longer there. Maybe somehow destroyed or something like that. I don't know.
Stonehenge. The position of stone 17 here.
Mark Bowden of English Heritage shows us how it looked.
Stone 18 here. Stone 19 here. And stone 20 here.
Now I'm going to pause it right here because even in this display, with this type of technology, you can see like the little bump that was used, even the little bump right here inside that stone. I mean, just to have it line up perfectly like that, again, it amazed me with the precision.
In many ways, I think we've had almost a false understanding of Stonehenge,
Really?
and because we haven't been able to see the whole picture.
What kind of false understanding? And how much of an understanding have we had?
I think probably one of the most stunning ones is probably the largest monument in the landscape, and quite hard to see, but the Greater Cursus, which is sort of running right across here,
Right.
a huge monument.
Which went on for miles.
Yeah, literally. I mean, it goes right from both horizons.
The new imagery shows what they call the Greater Cursus, running like a huge ditch and mound in a massive loop across.
And again, what could something like that have been used for? Makes you wonder.
The countryside. Archaeologists had known it was there, but were never sure what it contained or what it was for. And the new gizmos have revealed details never previously seen in the hundreds of years Stonehenge has been studied. There were great pits and structures along its route, and all of them seem built in relation to the passage of the sun across the sky.
Again, there goes the whole theory of astronomical theories on the site. Again, how did these people get this knowledge? Did they just study the stars? Did they have help from ancient aliens? I mean, like I said, I don't think we'll ever know, but could those ditches even actually be somehow they lined up that way, but those ditches were actually used to move the stones, maybe using water to transport the stones, and the ditches were somehow filled with water to carry the stones to the site that they're on now. I mean, that's another theory that I haven't heard, but I just came up with that theory. Hey, I mean, there's many theories out there. Why not make another theory? But again, there are so many possibilities. Now, I'm going to leave the rest of this video in the link in the description down below. Like I said, all the descriptions, all the links will be posted after this video has, this live stream has ended, and you can check them out all for yourself. Like I said, I got to figure out a way before next week to add all the information before I live stream. But learning how to do everything with OBS and everything like that is still fairly new to me, so I'm still learning. So let's get into another video, because we got 2 videos to get into and check out. Now, this one's not very long. It's only about 1 minute and 44 seconds, but we'll probably stop in between. But like I said, this gives you how Stonehenge was created, an animated history. And it gives you a couple of different theories. It brings up the whole Merlin thing. It brings up ancient aliens. It brings up giants. Which, the giant one I haven't heard very often until I saw this video. But let's play this video here.
Hundreds of myths and legends about the creation of Stonehenge, the most colourful of which involve the likes of giants, Merlin, and even aliens. Obviously, this is not the case. The truth is...
Like I said, now they're going to pretty much present their truth, but, I mean, something like that might not be off the table. I mean, again, we don't know, but they're going to give you their theory.
It's that Stonehenge is a...
And just before I get into playing more of that video, this is from English Heritage YouTube channel. Again, all the links will be in the description. So let's go back to full screen here.
Masterpiece of human ingenuity. The first Stonehenge was a simple circular ditch dug with antler tools around 5,000 years ago. By around 2500 BC, larger stones had been brought to the site, including giant Sarson Stones from North Wiltshire, which...
Yeah, and so those are the big stones that they were talking about in that first article. But, I mean, like I said, imagine trying to pull that like in this animation.
could weigh as much as 30 tons.
Now, the top stone is the blue stone. That's the capstone. That's 4 tons. The sun stone, which they mentioned here, the ones that are upright, are like 30 tons. So, I mean, just imagine 30 tons just being dragged to the site. I mean, let alone 4 tons being dragged to the site somehow. Imagine the task of 4 tons. Imagine what it would have been like for 30-ton stones to be dragged to the site.
We're not entirely sure how the stones were transported, but it is thought that they were dragged on wooden rollers and loaded onto rafts where possible. Smaller blue stones were also brought to the site from Wales, a journey of over 250 kilometres.
250 kilometers, which is about 200 miles. Like I said, that would have took a lot of ingenuity to get those stones that far, even with this rolling on stones or maybe a raft.
The stones were then worked into shape using hammerstones and erected using precisely interlocking joints, unseen at any other prehistoric monument. Ramps and counterweights were probably used to tip the upright.
See, again, they use weights and counterweight, or they believe that they had this knowledge to create such a machinery to lift these stones. Again, there are so many theories out there, but nobody really knows for sure.
Stones into place, and a platform and levers likely raised the lintels. To fit the upright stones with the horizontal lintels, mortise holes and protruding tenons were created.
Like I said, like giant Lego blocks.
The lintels were slotted together using tongue and groove joints, usually only found in woodworking. Erecting these stones took as long as 50 years, and the entire...
Now, see, they said 50 years, but yet the first or the second story said 1,500 years. So what is it? 50 years or 1,500? Again, nobody really knows. I mean, if it took 50 years, it could have possibly been because of alien technology. We don't know.
Higher development of the monument took even longer, up to 800 years in total.
The 800 years that they say. Again, that's not 1,500 years. So nobody really knows, even with carbon dating, how long this has been around, when it was first built, how it was built, or anything like that. But I would still love to hear your theory, your point of view on this in the comments down below.
Genius ancestors brought engineering to a monumental scale, and in the process created the most iconic prehistoric structure in the world.
So again, that gives an animated history of their thoughts on how Stonehenge was created. But again, I'm going to let you all decide on that. Let's see, I did have another one. My stream is still good. Otherwise, I mean, I'm getting warnings, but I don't think I've had anything freeze up or drop yet. So that's a good thing. Alright, so let's get into this last video here. And we're going to sign off for the night after this. This one's about 6 minutes and 15 seconds. But we're going to play it.
Stonehenge is one of the most...
This is this is why is Stonehenge so important. Half Asleep Chris is the one that posted this video. So, like, for him, if you do visit his channel, make sure you tell him Talking Tonight sent you. Again, I'm using his video, but with fair use, being able to pause and to be able to use it and commentate. So, and I believe sharing the love around, talking about the different things and being able to support each other's channels, I believe that's a good thing. But let's get into this video.
famous monuments in the world. Standing ominously on the windswept Salisbury Plains, it's 5,000 years old and originally consisted of over 150 stones. But everything about its origin is shrouded in uncertainty. It leaves so much to the imagination. And once a year...
And of course, like I said, it leaves so much to the imagination. That's why there are so many theories out there, because nobody really knows the true answers. And before we play more of the video, could all these theories actually be in play? could every single theory out there have had something to do with the building of Stonehenge? Quite possible.
On the summer solstice, a crowd of 10,000 people gather.
Of course, not this year. Nobody did that. But 10,000 people gather every summer solstice there to witness the alignment of the stones and the summer solstice.
Overnight to watch the sunrise, as our ancestors have done for millennia.
How cool is this?
So why? Well, let's begin the previous day, on a delightfully miserable British summer's morning.
I hope when I visit there it's not dreary like that. I hope it's a nice sunny day.
The iconic centrepiece consisted of an outer circle of 60 enormous Sarson stones. 30 stood upright, and then 30 laid horizontally on top, called lintels. But the biggest of the Sarson stones was saved for the trilithons, 2 large uprights with an adjoining lintel. 5 trilithons made up an inner horseshoe, the largest of which known as a grand trilithon, roughly 9 meters tall.
Although today, it's not very grand.
Yeah, see, I mean, it doesn't have the topping stone, but I mean, could this been like a ancient altar for religious beliefs? Again, that's another possibility.
There's only one upright still standing.
It's also worth noting the sheer craftsmanship involved with these stones. The builders used hammers to precisely shape the rocks how they wanted.
And it's like, as you can see here, that little bump there, that like woodworking to make it fit precisely in that hole. So the precision, again, like I said, amazes me. That even 3,000, 5,000 BC, whenever, to have that precision knowledge, that's why I think, could there have been alien technology used to construct this?
Including these protruding tenons and corresponding mortise holes to connect the uprights and lintels. What's really impressive is that these tongue and groove joints are usually only seen in woodworking and are a monumental feat in stone, especially with such primitive tools.
Again, like I said, the primitive tools that were used on this to create that, I mean, wow, I mean, just interesting that they had that ability to do such. And let's actually bring this to a full screen so we can play this better.
Next, there's the blue stones, these smaller stones that form a circle within the Sarson circle, as well as a horseshoe within the trilithons.
On the stones, I was thinking the blue stones were the ones. These are the 4-ton ones, the ones in the middle of the circle. Matter of fact, I'll pull up a picture of Stonehenge aerial view after this video, but Sarson Stones were the bigger 30-ton ones, whereas the blue stones were the smaller ones. So imagine those weighing 4 tons and the bigger ones weighing 30 plus tons.
There's not very many of these at all.
Yeah, see, these are 4 tons, or around, or probably were around 4 tons when they were placed. And at 4 tons, I mean, think of it as a 2-ton elephant. 2 big 2-ton elephants would be the size of one of these stones at 4 tons each. So imagine trying to lug around 2-ton elephants. Let's put it that way. And that's just for those. These big stones here, 30 tons. Imagine and to lift them up or get them upright. I mean, just a lot of mystery into it.
Remaining, but they're the short ones standing in the middle.
And right in the middle is the altar stone, which has since been split in two and partially buried when one of the trilithons fell. The whole thing is in...
Yeah, and of course, when a stone falls, it's gonna break something like dominoes. But except for they're not... I mean, it might push over another stone, but it could possibly break it, which it did in what they're saying here.
Circled by a large ditch, 100 metres in diameter. And there's also a ceremonial pathway called the Avenue, which stretches for 2 miles to the River Avon. There are a few other stones dotted around worth mentioning too, such as the 4 station stones that formed a rectangle around the perimeter. There's the heel stone, a 35-ton, 4.9 metre...
35-ton stone. I mean, just the size astounds me.
Tall Sarson stone at the entrance to the avenue, and the slaughter stone, which originally stood upright and was never actually used for slaughtering. So this is how it would have looked when complete, although today it's in ruins. Some of the stones have simply fallen over, and many are even completely missing, having been looted as free and easy build.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, let's say it was completed 1600 BC. And through the ages, as the Romans and stuff like that came into play in that area, I mean, could they have looted the stones for things, let's say medieval times, using the stones as catapult stones? Yes, it could have been looted even back then. Now, I'm not talking about nowadays. Now it's a national monument, basically, in England. And you definitely don't want to take away a 30-ton stone, let alone a 4-ton stone. But, I mean...
material over the ages. But there's still so much that baffles us about Stonehenge. How did the rocks get here? The largest stones weigh almost 40 tons and originally came from a site 20 miles away.
Like I said, even 20 miles away, getting something that weighs 40 tons, I mean, that's just outstanding. And I would love to know how they got them there. But again, like I said, there is still that possibility of ancient aliens. I'm not going to forget about that theory, because we don't know.
20 miles might not seem that far, but this was in the Neolithic age before the invention of the wheel. And the bluestones, although only weighing 3 or 4 tons each, were transported all the way from the Preseli Hills in Wales, some 140 miles away. There are various theories, of course, involving conveyor belts of...
Like I said, imagine a big rock like that, and I mean, it's possible. It is possible. And of course, these are modern ropes. Of course, they wouldn't have modern ropes back then to tie it down. But to roll it until it got past this last log, then to move this log back to the front to where it rolled over that. Again, a possibility, but that only explains getting the stones there. It doesn't explain standing them up.
Logs and grease-lined tracks, but no one knows for certain, and we most likely never will. And then even more baffling is the why. Why is Stonehenge here? Well, to find out firsthand, I found myself walking through a pitch-black muddy field at 2 in the morning. You see, there are many theories that Stonehenge was a temple, or a cemetery, or some kind of clock or calendar, and there is...
Again, there's all those theories that are very plausible. I mean, yes, we already know that it aligns with the winter and summer solstice. We know that there have been bones discovered there, so it could have been a burial site. So many theories, and well, I like you said, we'll never really know.
Convincing evidence to support each of these. But the calendar idea, that Stonehenge is a giant astronomical calendar or observatory of sorts, is why I'm here today.
So it's about 4 o'clock in the morning on the 21st of June, the long...
Like I said, the winter solstice, or not winter, the summer solstice, I'm sorry.
Day, the summer solstice. And when the sun comes up in about an hour's time, I'm going to see and experience something that people have been doing for thousands of years.
There are many significant alignments between the sun, the moon and Stonehenge, but the most striking can only be seen today. It will rise from behind the heel stone, precisely in line.
Like I said, I mean, to have not only the precision to cut the stones to where they fit in perfect like building blocks, but to align it, the stone, to where the sun's coming up, as you can see here, aligned with this smaller stone here.
With the avenue, and perfectly framed between what's left of the Grand Trilithon and the uprights of the Sarson Circle. And what's really special about this event is that they remove the normal barriers, and you're allowed inside the stone circle.
Yeah, because normally there's a barrier around it and you're not allowed in there, but the summer solstice, they allow people to go there. Again, not this year, but hopefully in future years when I actually get a chance to visit England and visit Stonehenge and everything like that, I'll get a chance to do that. Maybe I'll go on before the summer solstice and stay there for the summer solstice just to be there when that happens. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do that.
Something that not very many people at all get to do. You can even touch the stones. And from directly underneath, you can really appreciate just how enormous they are. And to see them from this perspective, these great ancient wonders dwarfing everyone around them, really emphasise just what an enchanting place Stonehenge is.
And like I said, you can see the size difference between the people and these stones. And imagine being able to get a stone like this on top, align it perfectly with those holes. I mean, let me know what you think in the comments down below. How do you think they got that stone up there and how they got it to align perfectly? I would love to know your theory on that.
This was it, the moment that meant so much to our ancestors. They stood here on this very day thousands of years ago, crowded into the inner horseshoe as we were now. The sun would rise and the stones would channel its light into the centre of the circle, bathing us all in its golden morning glow.
And see, there's that stone that he was talking about, that center stone right there that is between those pylons. And it lines with that. Of course, now he's not directly lined up with the stones to where it's lined up there, but you kind of get the point. I mean, it would be tough to see a crowd of people like that to actually be able to be right in the line that you want. I mean, of course, some people might actually get that line, but everybody else is outside that line, so they're just watching the sunrise, basically. But I would love to be in that spot where it's perfectly aligned.
It was extraordinary to see and appreciate Stonehenge the way it had been intended. This was an event unchanged by time, experienced by hundreds.
And of course, it'll always be like that because unless those blocks somehow get toppled over or dismantled or something like that, it will stay like that for many, many years. And I apologize for breaking in. Like I said, I had to break in so I can use it for fair use.
Of generations before us, and as the sun soaked everything in its wonderful light, there was a collective sense of wonder to welcome in the longest day and continue the traditions of our Neolithic ancestors.
And like I said, the link to that video will be in the description. Again, like I said, after I am done with this video, I'll post all the links, all the stuff that needs to be in the description. So it looks like I had about a couple minutes ago, I had a little bit of downtime in my stream health, but I'll try and fix all that by next week. But at least I haven't, as far as I know, I haven't had any freezing. So like I said, I want to thank everybody that tuned into this. Next week, I haven't planned out next week yet. There will also be a little end screen where you can check out last week's video. Now, last week I went live on Facebook talking about it, but I had that problem with the stream freezing, the video freezing, and everything like that. So at least I got that problem solved. But the stream helped to get it to where it's uploading at the right thing. I'll see about figuring that out. But next week, I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet. But if you do, there's going to be a link in the description for my Facebook page, my Discord, my Twitter, LinkedIn. Follow me on all those sites. And of course, make sure that you give this video a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified when I post new videos or go live. Also, make sure you leave a comment down below and share this with everybody that you know. So, let's do this here. Like I said, we'll leave it there, and oops. Sorry. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Of course, Talk in the Night is listener, viewer funded. So there also will be a PayPal link down below where you can donate to the show to help support the show. Again, oops, wrong one. Sorry. There's what I wanted. Donate whatever you can, 1, 5, 10, 20, whatever you feel like that you can afford. Like I said, Talking Tonight is listener, viewer funded. And of course, things are going to get better. I will figure everything out. It's a learning process. So trying to get used to everything, it's going to take time. Because I'm used to being behind a microphone to where you don't see my ugly mug. But you just hear my voice. And of course, I'm going to work on bringing guests onto the show. That's my next thing after I figure out the whole perfect stream, how to get perfect to where it's not having trouble with the stream health or anything like that. So as soon as I figure out how to have guests on, I'm going to bring on some great guests. I'm going to bring some guests from my past radio show. We're going to talk about the paranormal. If you've never heard Talking the Night before, I get into the paranormal. I get into technology. I get into health. I get into conspiracies. I talk about everything. And if you've ever heard Coast to Coast AM, with George Noria, Art Bell, they are the ones that, or Art Bell actually is the one that inspired me to get into talk radio. So I want to thank everybody that has tuned in for the show. Again, like I said, next week, if you follow me on Facebook, on the Talking the Night Facebook page, by Monday, I should have a topic for next week's live stream. And of course, it's every Saturday night, starting tonight at 8 p.m., right here on the Talking the Night YouTube channel. So, until next week, whichever that topic is going to be, I shall see you on the dark side. Good night from Talking the Night. Late at night, darkness has fallen. Turn on the radio, and you hear him talking. Listening to what he has to say, all about the paranormal and all of the things. When he sounds off, you can hear him say, see you on the dark side. Yes, you can hear